Am I the butthole for not selling my festival ticket although my friends already had? First off, it's exactly as the title says. Every year, me and my friends, I'll call them Anne, Beth, and Clara, to avoid confusion, take turns choosing a concert or festival to attend. We always take each other's preferences into account, and we're lucky that we all like the same kind of music. This started a few months ago when we all received a fair bit of money for our birthdays, and we decided it was time for another festival. We're May, June, and July babies. This year, 2024, it's my choice, and I chose the Nu Metal Sick New World Festival in Las Vegas. There isn't one band on there that we don't love. We're especially fans of Slipknot, Rammstein, Rob Zombie, and Ice Nine Kills. I know it could be taken that maybe they couldn't afford it, but we all work very high up in PR and travel insurance, and have been on quite pricey holidays and festivals before. We all bought our tickets and booked our flights and accommodations. All of that was done. We did it early as the event is in April. We decided the money we got for Xmas we'd use as extra spending money. Until a couple of days ago, everything was fine, and we've been talking about the event. Suddenly, there was a message on the group chat from Anne and Beth saying they'd changed their minds about the event and now want us to go to a Taylor Swift concert. I think it's the Eras Tour that's coming to the UK, I'm not sure. Me and Clara aren't fans of Taylor Swift at all. That's no hate to anybody who's a hardcore Swiftie. But me and Clara are die-hard metal fans, and it's not our thing. We mentioned this on the group chat, and immediately Anne and Beth called us both selfish for not taking their preferences into account, bearing in mind we all like the same metal bands. I politely said that it was my year to choose, and I had chosen that because all of our favorite bands would be there. Both Anne and Beth said that they'd already sold their tickets, canceled their flights, and sent a message to the Airbnb we booked that we would no longer be attending. Now it's their money, and they can do whatever they want with it. But I was quite angry that they'd canceled out accommodation before this message even hit the group chat. I voiced this concern in the group chat and reinforced that it was my turn to choose. The Taylor Swift tour is in June. They've already attended 3 of her events for the tour this year, one of which me and Clara went along to. Am I wrong for maybe assuming they'd be able to go along with my decision for this year's concert? Anyway, I was quite upset over the accommodation thing, which I feel is understandable. I hate to be that person who's like, no, it's me who's making the decision, but I can't help but feel that way. Me and Clara spoke outside the group chat, and it's quite good timing because my family are going to the US for Easter. We have family in Texas, so they will be there, and they'll travel over to Las Vegas to stay in the Airbnb they'd already booked. It's not that far from our original location, and they will also be attending the Sick New World Festival with us, as my dad is also a huge fan. We spoke with my family, and we decided to chip into the cost of their Airbnb and keep our tickets. Anne and Beth were very mad over that decision and said that we were selfish and trying to break up the group. We've all been friends since we were in school and met when we were around 4. I'm sure in time they'll come to be okay with our decision, but are we the buttholes for refusing to cancel our tickets? Update. Hi all, I'm back with an update. This one might be even longer than the original post, so I apologize. Me and Clara went to the festival, and it was absolutely incredible. I don't want to say once in a lifetime opportunity because of course we're going again, but it was a really incredible time. It was really lovely to spend time with Clara and my family too. I'm telling you, I couldn't speak for a while afterwards with the amount of shouting I did. Me and Clara also attended Ice Nine Kills Meet and Greet Tour, which was an amazing opportunity. Black Veil Brides performed at Sick New World, which I'll be honest, I nearly lost my freaking mind. We also had tickets to their Bleeders tour and attended that at the start of June when we traveled back to Houston with my family. This leads me into the proper update about Anne and Beth. They attended the Eras Tour in June. The 7th was when it came to Edinburgh and is in the UK until August 20th. They also have tickets for next month too. I feel guilty for being slightly disappointed that they picked my birthday June 7th to attend. Now I don't know if I have the right to be upset as that was the date of the first show. I wouldn't have minded if they hadn't told me they were attending on the 8th and 9th. I know some people will say maybe they got the dates mixed up, but no, they bought their tickets well in advance and knew it would be my birthday. It was my 21st birthday, and we'd made plans even earlier than booking festival tickets. I'd planned a party nothing huge because I'd spent a lot on tickets and paid for the entertainment and catering myself. So everything was on track for the goth party of the century, and lo and behold, a message in the group chat the literal day before. I'm gonna do a sort of reconstruction of the conversation just so you can see how this panned out. Beth: hey, so about your birthday party, me and Anne can't come. Me: wait, what do you mean you can't come? Anne: the 7th is the first show in Edinburgh and we got tickets, so we're going to the concert that day. Clara: the 7th? You said the 8th, 9th. She planned her party around you guys for that exact reason. Me: literally, I wanted the party on Saturday so I could have my birthday for my family, but both of you said the dates were after my birthday. If those aren't the dates, why did you tell me something else? Anne: because if we told you that's when the concert was, you'd act like you are now jealous and overreacting. Clara: jealous? She isn't jealous. She's frustrated because 2 of her best friends not only canceled everything for a festival she'd planned, but they've lied to her face this entire time. Anne: oh my f***ing god, are you still going on about that festival? You still went, didn't you? It's really not a big deal. You're seriously overreacting, and how have we lied? You get the gist. This is just a brief of what I remember because I haven't even been on the group chat since. They also went on to try and argue their points, saying that we know how obsessed with Taylor they are, and as I said in my first post, no hate to Swifties, but me and Clara are metal through and through. It's not our thing. I tried my best to be accommodating, and all I got in return was plans made without me and lied to my face. This isn't the first time something like this has happened. Often Anne and Beth would pair off together and do their own thing, but we all attended the same college and did the same courses, and like I said, we all worked together in the same company. So we've got even closer, and we thought we'd outgrown all of this. I moved my party back to the original day, which was the Saturday, and spent the 7th with my partner and family. The party was wonderful. It was a fancy dress, which sounds really tacky, but I love Tim Burton and horror movies, and so do my friends, so everyone dressed up was amazing. I love Halloween, so having a party like that at this time was everything. Now for the Eras tour. I actually feel bad for Anne and Beth cause they were scammed. If you've not been able to get hold of concert tickets, you know that some people sell theirs. The online tickets are harder to scam people with, but these ones were posted as in paper tickets. I think they paid at least £3,000 for their tickets, and they received them in the post. They already booked their train tickets and accommodation well in advance. But when they arrived to the concert, they were told that their tickets were fake. I know a few people are going to find this hard to believe, but seriously, I could not make this up if I tried. Apparently there was a big thing involving security and everything. They tried to contact the person they got the tickets from, but of course they couldn't find that person anymore. I feel bad because they really wanted to go, and they spent a lot of money. We didn't find out about this until they got home, and we all went back to work this week. I said that I was sorry that it didn't work out, but since then they've been quite cold to me and Clara. Which quite frankly I don't understand because I have more reason to be cold than them, but anyway. I think maybe it's more out of embarrassment. We haven't really spoken much since, because I do still feel very hurt by how it all panned out. I don't really want to be friends with people that could do that so easily, and then lie to my face. Sorry, it is looking likely that we are going to sort of take a break from the friendship, if that makes sense. We're not completely our separate ways, but I think we just need time away from each other. Thank you for listening to me rave about my problems, and I'm sorry that it's very long or it's not the update you wanted, but it's just how things worked out. Next story. Am I the butthole wife previously said acquaintance would be better partner, now works with him? My wife Alice and I have been together for 9 years, married for 7. Prior to getting married, during a discussion we had about me being unhappy with her partying nature, Alice told me, "Don't take this the wrong way, but Chase, then boyfriend, now husband of Alice's former roommate Dina, would be a better partner for me." This was a real gut punch in lots of ways. I guess because Chase would stay out late drinking and partying most nights of the week, Alice thought that if her and Chase were a couple, he would be okay with her also staying out late drinking and partying most nights of the week. Well, about 10 months ago, Chase approached Alice about doing sales consulting for his business. Alice already has her own business and does better than she ever did before, so the opportunity from Chase wasn't something we need to keep the lights on. But every extra bit helps. I expressed my initial concerns to Alice. She tried to reassure me in different ways, like she did when she had first said he'd be a better partner for her. Chase was a bro, parties too much, too loud, etc. All the while I know Chase and I are different people. I'm never going to be like Chase, and I don't care because I'm happy with myself. But it still eats me up when I think about the person I was set to marry, now married with amazing kids, compared me to someone that I would ordinarily feel indifferent towards and now don't care for. For some added background on Chase and Dina, they started dating after Alice and I. Dina wanted to settle down like us and met Chase through an app. He was non-exclusive with Dina and only hooking up, eventually giving her a mild but untreatable STD that caused Dina to become somewhat depressed, since she'd want to disclose that to any potential partners for the rest of her life. After a few months, Dina decided that instead of trying to date someone new and accepting, she was going to give Chase everything he wanted and would overlook all his previous sketchiness and all of his partying so they could have a future together. Alice knew all this and knew Dina was sad and depressed, and ultimately gave up some of her standards, all because this guy Chase gave her an STD. And then Alice turning around and saying that's the better partner for her seemed ludicrous and completely insensitive. Alice and I worked through it back then, and one of the biggest reasons I was able to forgive her was because Alice and Chase had minimal interaction. The 2 or 3 times a year we saw him and Dina, and Alice and I planned on moving closer to family so that there would be even further distance. Enter the opportunity mentioned above. I only catch the occasional correspondence between Alice and Chase through a shared business email Alice has where I can help out for business filings and taxes, but it's friendly in nature, much more friendly than I've ever messaged people since meeting Alice. Alice then deletes only correspondence from Chase from the inbox. Alice talks to Chase about 20 times more than she talks to Dina these days, and there's lots of laughing and joking around. Chase is sending Alice pics of the cool outings he does since he owns his business. Chase calls on the occasional weekend or after hours, and Alice says to me that he should respect her off time, and then after a few minutes go by she calls him back. Chase sends the occasional message excusing his partying for his messages having typos. There's the accidental autocorrect where Alice suggests we go visit Dina and Chase. There's the couple times spooning where Alice has brought Chase up. There's the time when mentioning Dina's b-day, and because there's more than one friend named Dina, Alice clarifies it's the one married to Chase, not Dina's last name, not her old roommate. There's Alice mentioning our kids, and Dina and Chase's kids are about the same age, and we should visit them halfway across the country sometime soon. There's Alice acting sad when she hears from Chase that Dina is pregnant again, because Alice and my kids have birthdays close together. There's Chase asking what we've been doing in that same month of the year leading up to our kids' births. All this stuff adds up to give me the ick. I've tried reasoning with Alice about the sales she's making and sending 50% to Chase that she could have all of if she started her own similar business. I've tried reasoning that Alice's own business is growing and will get much busier and more lucrative later this year and carry into the next. I've tried asking Alice to keep her relationship professional with Chase, and she gets defensive like it's okay for her to now develop a friendship with this guy, her former roommate's husband, the better partner. Then she'll act all angry and animated and say she's emailing Chase right now to stop working with him. I tell Alice all I want is for her to have appropriate boundaries with a guy. and to be as transparent as she can. That gets her acting normal for a few days, and then it seems to start again. I'm not sure exactly what else I'm supposed to say or do to have Alice act differently towards Chase, and sometimes I think all I can do is focus on me and the kids and my work. Update. I sat with everything for a bit, and then this Monday things got very heated. Alice makes her own hours since she has a growing WFH business all on her own, and then was doing the consulting with Chase as well. Late Monday morning, Alice came back from the gym and got into a nice dress, and I asked her what meetings she had since she typically only did that for big meetings with interesting people. She also has meetings in the clothes she rolled out of bed in for unimportant meetings, so being dressed up is an event. Unbeknownst to me, this was triggering to Alice as a woman. A few times over the last couple months, Alice would put on makeup or lipstick or a nice dress, and me asking her what for was something she very much didn't like, but also never communicated to me. For context, on average Alice gets dressed up and puts on makeup maybe once a week. More context, I also WFH doing very boring stuff, so I'm very interested in her meetings with cool people and cool products since I really don't have much else going on. Well, that night as I'm cooking, Alice mentioned something being my girlfriend, which I told her I didn't find it funny and went back to cooking. Humor is subjective, and I just wasn't in the mood. She wanted me to tell her what was wrong, that she had an idea what was wrong, and then she started talking loudly that it was just a joke and yelling that me asking her questions when she gets dressed up and puts makeup on about who she's meeting with virtually or where she's going comes across as searching for something, and she didn't like it. Okay, fair enough. I told her I wouldn't be searching if she would be more open and communicative with me. We delayed the full heated conversation until later when the kids were in bed. I had told her that from the very beginning that I was uncomfortable with her working with Chase, but that we could definitely use the money, and so long as she could make me comfortable with the situation I was on board. I thought that was a mature, non-controlling way that would go a long ways towards asking Alice to give me reassurance. Alice has not made me comfortable with the situation. I also didn't expect their work to last as long as it had. I expected a few months, and due to changing demands, it was looking like it might go on for 2 years. The argument was wide-ranging, and Alice was most mad about me searching, and I mentioned so many times in so many ways I'd asked her to over-communicate, which I should have specified to her. I wanted her to primarily over-communicate her dealings with Chase. She wouldn't tell me hardly anything about their communication. So I'd ask, and she'd tell me what was going on with the situation, but never their communication. By me asking, she said that she took it that I was okay with everything. But I had to ask because she wasn't telling me anything. Like I mentioned from the start, I asked that she make me comfortable with it, and she never did. I'd known that Chase and Alice were on friendly terms, overhearing the occasional phone call and meeting, joking around about stuff and weekend plans. They'd share some pics of the kids doing stuff, and Chase would mention the cool things he's doing since he also owns his own business and makes his own hours. I'd asked Alice if she was now friends with Chase, was always Dina's husband before, and she said so many times that she's a friendly person and that's why she's good at her job. So that was a deflection. I then asked how often she's chatting and communicating with Chase, and then how often she's communicating with Dina. Very little communication with Dina, maybe 5% or 10% of her interaction with Chase. I said it sounds like she's becoming friends with the person she told me would be a better partner for her, more so than her actual friend. Alice tried some revisionary history by saying she meant Chase would be a better boyfriend and someone to party with, and that I'd be a better husband and life partner. Alice had said that before, but it was a while later when we were in couples therapy after I guess she reflected on how bad and hurtful what she said was. She thought that would make me feel better then, and I told her at that time it didn't, and she thought it would make me feel better now, and I told it still didn't. I mentioned to Alice that she wasn't setting boundaries with Chase, like when she'll answer calls, texts, messages, emails, etc., occasionally at night on the weekends. One example, Alice and Chase were supposed to get an update from a client Friday evening, which is already kind of imposing. Alice showed, Chase and the client didn't. The next day Chase calls Alice when our family was hanging out having a fun time, and Alice said she wouldn't answer it since it's not respectful of her time. But then 5 minutes later Alice said she's really curious what's going on, so she leaves family time to go call Chase. I asked her 3 or 4 times realistically, how many couples out of 10 or out of 100 did she truly think would still be together if another partner said what Alice said to me? Alice never answered and instead deflected by saying, "Well, why did you forgive me?" Alice told me how she disliked Chase and the type of person he is, even though she suggested visiting Dina and Chase before. I told Alice, don't tell me that you don't like him, show me. Alice said she's so frazzled, which I often reply why she overcommits us all to so many activities, and that's why she doesn't over-communicate with me. I asked, with the increase in her main business and the busy season coming up, how she expected to deal with it all. She said she didn't know. I said she could stop consulting. Alice said she'd have to stop consulting since her business is about to get crazy, so she'll end her consulting in a couple months. That's where we're at now. I know outside of this, Alice and I are in a decent but not great place. I'm hopeful, but then in another post I'd read a comment saying, if your spouse says I am uncomfortable with this and you shrug and continue to do it, your marriage is over, and that really hit me. I hope that's not the case. Next story. Would I be the butthole if I tell HR about my past with a new coworker? I, 34M, am a lead developer on a team of mid-sized SaaS company that has around 100 or so employees. Basically, we are large enough that there are employees we can see, recognize, but not necessarily know their names. Recently, we had a new hire, Krista 33F, who joined the PM part of the project I am working on. I have a history with Krista from college. In college, I was a lot more in my own shell. I didn't really treat myself well, and was very much the introverted nerd, down to bad posture and poor fashion sense. Krista, she did have quite a few friends in college, but at least in my view, she wasn't super popular, but she was well liked and was conventionally attractive. We shared a few classes together and one day asked me for some help on an assignment. I helped her on it and we talked, and from the sound of things, she seemed genuinely friendly to me. I helped her on a few more assignments, and finally she asked me if I wanted to meet her after class at a coffee shop and talk. I said sure, and when I got there, Krista was nowhere in sight. I waited about 20 minutes before I called her. She answered and started laughing, and I heard several other voices laughing. Krista saying something like, "Why would I want to date a fat loser like you?" Looked out the front window of the shop and saw one of Krista's friends holding up her camera phone, and it looked like she was recording. Next few weeks there were jokes about me, flyers with my face from the coffee shop vid plastered up with "creep" in bold letters on top. Kept my head down, and within a month the next big thing popped up on campus and I was forgotten. Didn't stop Krista and her friends from going, "You creep," when they saw me, but I guess for the rest of the campus it got old, so I never got accused of anything, or even really ostracized by the rest of the student body. After college, I did learn about self-care a bit better. Plus, I usually am with other programmers, so I really don't stand out as a social outcast. When Krista was introduced to our team, I don't think she recognized me, and it's only been a week. But I want to know if bringing up the college incident is even worth it for HR. Most of my rational brain really wants to just let this go, treat Krista as a new person, and get on with me. But I have a small fear that she might tell a skewed version of the college events and sour the team I'm on against me. So I should at least disclose to HR, so in case she does start telling tales I have recourse. Would I be the butthole if I told HR about my past with Krista? Update. Yesterday some things happened, some bad, mostly good. There were mixed responses, most telling me to tell, but one HR professional saying I shouldn't. Due to the mixed messaging, I did consult a local employment lawyer. The lawyer told me that I should make HR aware of the past I have with Krista. but make it clear that there was never anything disciplinary acted upon me in college. He asked if my job had a copy of my transcript, and I verified that it did. Lawyer asked if there were any third parties that would verify the harassment and see if I could get their names and contact details if needed. I knew 2 people back in college that I still had on my LinkedIn and was certain they would tell the truth, so we were good there. Lawyer told me to just request a meeting with HR and my supervisor. Say there was a past with Krista. There was never any charges or disciplinary action, and I have 2 witnesses if they ever need verification. So that was what I did. Friday morning, I came into the office and sent HR and my supervisor an email requesting a formal meeting at 10 a.m. My supervisor came to my desk and asked if everything was okay and wanted to make sure I was happy. I told him everything was fine, I wasn't leaving, and it wasn't anything with him or the team. He seemed relieved, and by 10 a.m., we rolled into the conference room with the HR officer. I thanked them both for taking time out of their day to meet me, and then I did as my lawyer instructed. I said that the new project manager, Krista, was someone I went to college with. She participated in harassment of me in college, detailed how I never had any charges or disciplinary action, and that I had 2 independent witnesses that saw the harassment and gave their contact info. My supervisor seemed shocked, and the HR officer went through the info I gave her for a minute, and then the 2 of them talked for a minute. Finally, Krista was called in. When Krista walked into the conference room and saw me, HR, and the team supervisor, she seemed shocked. HR started with something like, "We have been told you 2 have a past." Krista sat down and looked pretty shocked throughout. She did admit to the bullying, but tried to reframe it as a misunderstanding repeatedly. She never outright said what the bullying was. But then she was told that since this was an incident in both our pasts that nobody wants brought up again, that it should stay dead. HR made it clear that this is not to be a funny water cooler story to share. Krista and I both agreed to that, but Krista still looked shaken. Noon was coming up right when the meeting was wrapping up. My supervisor and HR again reiterated, neither of us is to breathe a word about the college incident. We're professionals, and we're here to do a job. I went to the break room for lunch, and actually I felt like my appetite has finally returned. The last few days were stress-starving me, to be honest. I sat at a table with the rest of the development team, and we started eating. Halfway through my sandwich, another coworker, Sandy 30F, came by and said, "So I heard an interesting story yesterday about you and Krista," with a big grin on her face. She didn't get further because my supervisor was at our table, stood up, pointed at Sandy, and across the room at Krista and said, "You too. Conference room. Now." I wasn't privy to what happened in the conference room, but I did see the HR officer go into the room 2 minutes later, looking pretty pissed and with a mustard stain on her shirt. I guess she got the call and was interrupted during lunch. Not sure what went on. The rest of my team asked what that was. I said, "I have no idea," and just kept eating. 5 minutes later, 2 more co-workers on other parts of the project were brought into the conference room. Lunch ended and we went back to work, but speculation was high. It wasn't until 3 that the conference room finally emptied. Krista looked like she was crying, and the others that were in the room with her seemed to treat her quite coldly. Not sure what this will mean, but it appears for now, Krista is still working here. But I appreciate the lengths HR and my supervisor are taking to ensure this won't blow up further. Update 2. Monday wasn't a crap show, so that was good. My supervisor and the HR officer did bring everyone on the team into the big conference room, for the HR officer said that we are a professional company. And while we do like to have fun, there are company outings like golf, bowling, main event, we are to be strictly professional and not gossip about other coworkers' personal lives. Sandy and the 2 other coworkers who were brought into the conference room Friday looked pretty ashamed during this. Krista was sitting at the other end of the conference room table, and there seemed to be a noticeable distance between her and the other employees. My supervisor said he wants to consider this matter closed and for us to get back to offering great solutions to our clients. Everyone filed out of the conference room and went back to work. Lunch on Monday was pretty tense, but Tuesday management had a local Mexican place bring in a Taco Tuesday for us, and the mood improved considerably. I don't gossip, but I did hear murmurs that Krista is now on her final warning and put on a performance improvement plan, all within her first 2 weeks. Not sure how true these rumors are, but with how isolated Krista now appears to be to the rest of the team, it is clear that everyone else is not willing to socialize with her beyond their work functions. I considered this matter closed myself, and if Krista worked hard and got her redemption arc, I'd have been fine with it. But then last night happened. Not sure where Krista got my address, but she was outside my house last night, and luckily my doorbell camera caught it, so I can pretty accurately transcribe it. She rung and asked if we could talk. I said through the digital doorbell there was nothing to talk about, and she better leave because this is now harassment. She pleaded for me to come outside and discuss it. I declined and emphasized she's not welcome. She then said she had a crush on me in college, that her friends found out she asked me to coffee and pressured her to turn it into a harassment campaign, and she was afraid of them disowning her for liking a guy like me. Guys, I wanted to laugh so hard. I was socially awkward back in college, but even I knew this was crap. Hell, I wasn't even interested in Krista for a date. I thought she wanted to be my friend. I told her that I didn't care what she has to say. She has to leave. She told me I could just ask Sandy what she told her and it would clear this all up. I declined and said that this matter in the office is closed. Krista finally made an exaggerated sigh and walked off. I took the video recording from the doorbell and sent it to the employment lawyer and will give it to my supervisor and HR today. I will be shocked if she will last longer than this Friday now. Update 3. Krista is fired. I didn't even have to send HR the doorbell cam vid, but I did send it to the lawyer I was talking to. Lawyer is drafting a cease and desist and potentially a restraining order if needed. Krista somehow got my address from someone in it. The new hire is suspended because of this data breach, and everyone got a memo about data security yesterday morning, including the usual about phishing scams. Krista's desk was empty when I came in yesterday morning, and since I'm taking the necessary legal steps, I'm considering this matter closed. I hope you guys like this video. If you did, make sure like, comment, share, and subscribe the channel James Stories.